Good morning. And there's quite a few people online right now too. And please, in the chat, if you're having any technical issues, please let us know that, because we're doing, this all seemed like a really good idea to have an in-person and a webinar, but wow, was that a challenge to get all this stuff working. So I'd like to thank Dylan and Natalie and everybody who's helped put this thing together. We were here till 10 o'clock last night. So hopefully it works. First of all, thanks for coming, everybody. Finally here. We're opening next week, Friday. It's gonna be 40 degrees. It was 75 a couple weeks ago. What do you think? Okay, so our goal today is not to teach you guys how to skydive. It's just a refresher. It's a time for us all to come together and talk about things that we maybe don't think about on a regular basis. Our goal is to keep today as brief as we can, because over the years of doing this, we've discovered that your ability to pay attention lasts about 2 hours, and after that, we lose you. So I had a lot of Red Bull and coffee this morning, so my part will be fairly quick, as long as I stay on my talking points here. Okay, so I just want to review last year, talk about some stuff that went on last year, and then kind of build on that about some changes you guys can expect for this year. Then I'm going to pass things along to Natalie, who handles all the event planning. I don't know how to get rid of that up there, so I'm just going to have to deal with that. Last year was another great weather season. I think we've all been spoiled the last 2 years, right? We come to the drop zone and we skydive, right? In Chicago, it doesn't always work out that way. Let's keep our fingers crossed. That's an ongoing trend. The student business, the people that, what's up, Wilkins? The people that pay for this facility over your head right here, that business continues to be very strong, even though 2 years ago when we were not sitting here having safety day, we had no idea what to expect. And the fact that we've been not only like kept the place alive, but we've prospered has been pretty amazing, right? But that's really a tribute to, the entire staff, Chris and Paige and everybody who's kept this thing going. And it just blows my mind that we've been able to wear masks in airplanes. While other businesses were forced to shut down, we were jamming like 23 people into an aluminum tube. Blows my mind. So I always put this, when I was updating this screen for this year, I realized I put this message on there every year. The last few years have been a challenge, as I just mentioned. And one of the big challenges that I have is scheduling aircraft that sometimes go elsewhere, because if we don't need it here, I want to keep it flying. I invariably miss it, right? I think it's going to be a slow weekend, so I send an airplane on the road, and then it's 78 degrees and light winds, and everybody shows up, and then they're all looking at me. So this year, I've just made the decision that starting June 1st, minus one weekend, starting June 1st through mid to late September, there will just be 2 caravans here. All right. The weekend of, what is it? I think it's the 3rd weekend in June. Right now, we have an airplane committed somewhere, and I didn't want to pull it from them. So as it stands right now, we'll have 1 super van here that weekend. I'm working on bringing in something else. Nothing's committed. As we get closer to that, if it is just 1 airplane, we're going to throttle back the tandem business just to make sure that we have enough seats for you guys. Isn't it? Okay, so going on to this year, although I've already started talking about this year, we've got a lot of new faces on the team this year. Some old ones, but some new ones. So as we always do, guys, let's make sure we make sure everyone feels welcome and bring them in. I don't even feel like I even have to mention that. You guys are great at that, but some new faces, let's make them feel welcome. Here's the one you guys are all dreading. So if you're not aware, we have increased jump prices across the board. Free fall university, tandem, and fun jumpers. It was the biggest one-time price hike I've ever done. We typically just incrementally bring it up by 50 cents or $1. We hit it with $3 this year. So I'm going to monitor it, but I want you guys to understand that, you know, if fuel prices drop, it doesn't just automatically mean that price is coming down. That's why we did it as a price increase and not a fuel surcharge, because as you know, everything is costing more. It's not just fuel, right? It's everything. I mean, you guys know, you're out there, right? So we're going to keep an eye on it. If the tandem business is doing like what we think it's going to do this year, we're seeing a dramatic increase in preseason bookings, then maybe we can bring back the prices of the fun jumpers to help kind of keep it lower for you guys, because we have raised the prices of tandems substantially, and preseason bookings have increased substantially. So those are two nice data points that I want to continue to see trending in that right direction. Any questions on jump prices, guys? John, nothing? Okay, I've made a change on account balances and the policy. For those of you guys that have jumped with us for a long time, you know that I don't like to say no, I avoid confrontation. So when people say, hey, my account's $7,000 in the hole, you mind if I go to that boogie and do, 80 jumps? And I say, sure, no problem, just pay me when you can. That's bitten me in the ass a few times, so I don't want to do that anymore. So we've changed the policy now where you've got to have a positive balance to cover that jump. In fact, we made it so that Verbal won't even allow Manifest to put that person on a plane unless their account balance is in the black. So if you've got $23 on account and you try to do a $30 jump, you can't get on the plane. I hope that's, I mean, that's how all businesses work, but this one seems to be different. So we're just going to the way everybody does business. But please just respect that. Manifest literally doesn't even have the ability, not even Paige has the ability to override that. I do. So blame me if you guys get an answer from the Manifest window you don't like. I just have to do it because there's been so many people that have bailed on account balances, and I just can't keep running a business like that.
So what's your balance?
Mine personally? Moving on. Payment methods, as you guys know, we charge a credit card processing fee. We don't like doing it, I do it. But I want you guys to be aware there are options to avoid those fees. I don't want to charge you guys 3% or whatever we charge, because all I'm doing is taking that money and passing it along to the processor. So you can avoid those fees through old-fashioned checks, cash. If you use PayPal, make sure you do the friend-to-friend service option and not a product option, because then that avoids the fees. And we do now accept Venmo. Venmo, there's a small fee and we're willing to eat that, but Venmo is an option. What I do ask on these two options is that you do at least a $250 minimum, because what I don't want is $30, because it's kind of a manual process for us to enter these payments. So just make sure it's like you're maybe preloading your account with a few $100s. I was talking to you. No, all right. Okay, any questions on that? But those are ways to avoid the fees, right? Aircraft scheduling I discussed. Any questions on that? Okay, so we got some changes in the camping area. I worked my butt off this year. We almost lost camping and RVs. Can you guys imagine? Can you imagine, right? So we can thank Jared for his monstrosity that he had out there last year, because we might as well have put a spotlight on it for all the city council members when they came out to dinner and they saw that thing sitting out there. It created a lot of attention on that, and they started digging in, and they actually discovered that the zoning on this airport wasn't done properly. There's a lot of drop zones around the country that are dealing with this right now. We fortunately have an amazing relationship with this city and the county and the airport management, and they went out of their way to rectify the situation, because actually they realized that it was something that they mishandled 11 years ago when we came here. And since then, they have a contract with us that states that we can have an RV park and camping. So they knew they were putting themselves in a legal pinch by offering that when legally they couldn't do it. So they were motivated to rectify this as well. And they also see the value that we bring to the community by you guys coming and buying gas and food and alcohol and spending your tax dollars here. So one compromise that we've made both with the county and with the guy that owns this red house out here is that we can't long-term camp in that south grass area. So that's not going to happen anymore. If transients want to come in and set up a tent out there for a couple of days, that will be acceptable as long as they're far enough away from that red house. They don't want us close to their fence. We're also moving this fence out here that goes out to the north end of the RV park. We're moving it closer, more out to the west, closer to the hangar. And all tent camping will be along the east side of the hangar and up north. So no more tent camping out there. Basically, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? They just don't want this place to look like a shanty town when people come to our hangar. And if everything can be about out here, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? So if you guys can help me with that, and what I mean by that is if you're camping, set it up there. But if you're not, and you see somebody setting up tents elsewhere, please make sure you let them know. Any questions on that?
I heard you guys something about
Yeah, that's actually not allowed. So we don't want people setting up tents in the RV park. There's supposed to be a set number of distance from tents to RVs because apparently, I don't know why. The amount of, I mean, the rules on this stuff, it's crazy, but we got to play the game. Yeah. Yep. So that gets to this point. Good question. So right over here, guys, for those of you guys who are online, the northeast corner of the hangar, the city is requiring that we put in another emergency exit because in the wintertime, we do a lot of banquets and events. In the summertime, when the doors are open up, they don't even consider this an indoor space. But in the wintertime, when we're packing 350 people in here for a wedding, they look at it differently. So they are gonna put in an emergency exit right over here. And then we're gonna build a little patio outside out there, and we're gonna move that oasis area over here and then build that fence around it and make it kind of the private. Yes, John?
Could you build the door into the door?
No, structurally, we can't do it. And I spent all winter getting zoning and all that stuff for that, so no. So yeah, we're gonna see some fence changes. We're gonna see the door change. Yeah, go ahead. Not a bit. All those changes will be inside the beer line.
Hey, Doug,
The question was, thank you. The question was, will that affect the landing area at all? And the answer is no. The fence will be moved, and all those movements will be inside and south of the beer line. Anything else?
I have a question here. Someone asked for price jump packages. Are you still offering buy 10, get 1 free package?
So there's an online question about package pricing, and I don't know. But if you go to the Experience Jumper pricing page on the website, all the jump packages are outlined there. I hope that helps. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this one. So facility upgrades, we're doing tents, doors, oasis, and I'm also excited to announce that I think we're the first drop zone to ever do this, but this place will be fully solar this summer. So the engineers are coming this week to start the process, and we haven't gotten an exact construction date. It's about a 3-week project, but every square inch of both buildings will have solar panels on it. It's like 350 50 panels or something like that. So I'm excited about it. It's something I've been working on for 2 years with the city, because this city didn't allow solar. They didn't allow for what they call net metering. And for any of you guys that know, it's basically spinning the meter backwards and selling power back to the grid. I have solar on my house at home, and ComEd allows for net metering. In this town, they didn't allow for it. So we had to go through that whole process to get that. And the only alternative was to do battery power, which made it financially not even possible for us. So we got this approval, and now we were granted the first commercial operation in the city of Rochelle to have solar. So Chris asked, does that include RV parking? So there's 3 meters on this building. There's one for the RV park, there's one for the buildings, and then there's one for the flight deck. So the solar will be powering all 3 of those meters. Now in the summertime, when you guys are running your ACs with your thermostat set at 58 degrees, we are still going to be pulling power from the city, right? But there's going to be a lot of times where there's days where we're not using a lot of power, that we're selling it back to the city, and then we're buying it back when we need it, right? So it's a pretty interesting model, but I'm excited about it. There's a lot of tax reasons to do it, a lot of incentive money out there, and to me, I just feel good about doing it, because this isn't the greenest activity in the world, but we try to do our part, right? And by selling the Twin Otter and buying much more fuel efficient caravans and doing our part to save the environment, I feel good about that. Any questions, John? No? What's up, Ann? Soon. Yes. Yeah, my goal is to have it all done by Memorial Day. I haven't gotten confirmation on any of these construction. As you guys know, the construction world is busy and backed up, so it's not just a matter of calling the guy and they show up the next week, right? We're working on scheduling, but yeah, that is certainly the plan. Okay, so this transitions me over to Natalie, guys, and I did just want to point out, if you guys haven't seen the event calendar online, please take a look. It's continuing to evolve, and we're adding new events quite a bit. There's a lot of cool, fun events, and Natalie's going to talk more about that. And if you haven't signed up for the Google Calendar, then we can, that's our way of getting right into your phone and forcing you to think about us all the time. But Natalie Rodriguez, guys, thanks.
Oops, definitely the wrong ways. Did you want to talk about this?
It's you.
Okay, so Doug already mentioned opening day weekend next weekend. Really excited for the season to start. Probably wearing snowboard, clothes in order to stay warm in the weather, but hey, it's finally starting, so we're excited. If you guys did not attend last year's opening day weekend at Kenny Farms, it was a great event supporting local businesses. So we will be doing that on Saturday. If you have not registered yet, please do that today. We will automatically just deduct it from your Burble account. It's only $20 to have pizza and drinks. So really fun social event, and you're supporting something local. All right, so for April, open Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday, and May open every day except Tuesdays. Anything else to add on that, Doug?
Memorial Day, we go 7 days.
After Memorial Day, 7 days. All right, so like Doug mentioned, we put a lot of effort into these events for this season. So got a lot of feedback from you guys, going to continue a whole bunch for this season that we did last year. Sis Boogie is one that I personally really enjoy. So about 37,000 USPA members. Out of that number, any idea how many female skydivers there are? If you just had to put a guess out there. 20%, John? Anyone else? 30? 50? It's only 13%. So that number is actually still increasing, but still a very low number. So this is a great event for female skydivers to just network with other skydivers out there. So whether you have 25 jumps, 5,000 jumps, it's always a very, very fun event. I actually got my 100th jump that I celebrated there 2 years ago. So lots of fun. I think this year's theme is Olympics, right? Olympics. So either winter or summer, whatever attire, but it's a lot of fun with Julie and Amanda. All right. Wingsuit Performance Camp. So Riddler and Alexi will be hosting that. I think it's now the second year that they're hosting it. So if you don't know about Riddler and Alexi, they were on the USA performance team, and they actually won gold for the US, and they jump here. How awesome is that? Alexi also at US Nationals, I think he also broke the world record for, I think it was the longest wingsuit performance in a competition time. So it's great. We have great athletes here and jumpers. Let's see. M3, Midwest Movement Madness. So that's Luis and Gianfranco. Really cool. I'm sure all of you guys already know them. They will be hosting that event right before Independence Boogie. So back-to-back events throughout the season. Intro to XRW, Ted Chen and Scott Lazarus. You guys don't know about them? They're world-class organizers. Yep, see a couple of high fives over here. We had our first event with them last season. It was great, very successful, very safe. And we want to continue. We're really excited to have them again for this season. Intro, oh, I already said intro to XRW. Multiple flocking events. So Clash will be talking about that later as a presenter. Flight 1 and Flight 2. Any of you guys have taken Maxine's class? Okay, there's a couple of hands on here. I have. Maxine's great, all around, awesome, amazing person. If you haven't heard about her, she broke the world record head down at FAA at Worlds last year. And then at, where was it, at National, she even broke her record over and over again, breaking the fastest time. So I think it was 285 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. So yeah, she's amazing. I took her course a couple seasons ago, but great person. And then Zach, I'm sorry, I skipped over solo looking to build. So now this is our third year doing it. So Zach will be talking about that here shortly, but lots of amazing events. If you guys have any recommendations, please let us know. We have lots of other social events that we still need to add to the calendar, but definitely welcome any feedback. All right, continuing on. All right, this is feedback that we got from a few folks. So we are bringing back weekend start times. So on Friday, we will be posting what times we'll be starting on Saturday and Sunday. Doug already talked about multiple aircrafts and then flight deck. All right, let me pull out the specials that we have. So every month will be a new special. Okay, right now it's $1 off all drafts from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. $2 craft beer cans Tuesday through Friday. And the beer of the month is $3 Lena cans. So any of you guys snowboard or ski out there? So the whole après ski, Doug had a great idea and changed it to après sky is where we came up with that. And then the Skydiver special right now is $10 for food to go. It's cheeseburger and fries. So you just need to go up to flight deck and say you want the Skydiver special, and it's a pretty good, decent rate right now with all the prices going up. So really excited, want to continue supporting flight deck, and they will continue to come out with monthly specials for us. So that's what we got. Any questions? All right, moving it on to Chris.
All right, everybody's favorite part of Safety Day. I get the distinct pleasure of talking about first the fatality summary for 2021. So we're going to keep it nice and light. And then I'm going to do a couple of quick presentations on how we would like to handle incident response here at the drop zone if there ever is, you know, an accident. And also I will be speaking briefly to safety regarding movement groups. I'm not going to get into like the, you know, the basics of or anything about any movement events or anything, but just specifically how to stay safe and how we would like to approach having movement groups here at CSC, since it is in the last, you know, handful of years, movement, angle jumps and movement jumps have become, you know, more than a small percentage of the jumps around here. It seems like, you know, everybody wants to do them. And so we're just trying to keep things safe while we're doing that. Okay, so there's my bio. Technically I'm the director of operations. You guys all know me as mostly as your safety and training advisor. I still do a bit of jumping, not instructional anymore, but video jumps and mentor jumps. I'm gonna be available for that. So let's start right off and get into the fatality summary. All of this information is taken from the latest issue of Parachutist. So I'm going to encourage everybody to thoroughly read the article that's in Parachutist. We're not going to spend any time on the details of each specific incident, but I would like to just talk to, you know, a few things that I, you know, caught reading through it, things that might help us to prevent ever having to encounter something like that. But a couple things, 2021 was actually in the time that they've been recording fatalities in the sport since I think it said 1961. It was the year with the lowest number of fatalities, 10 total fatalities. That doesn't include aircraft accidents. So just skydiving related, just 10 fatalities last year. I think it's going to take into account a little bit the reduced number of jumps with, you know, the pandemic, but it's still a really great number. You can see, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, we were as high as, you know, 50 some jumpers dying in a year, which is crazy. And the other notable thing about 2021 is that there were 0 student deaths in 2021, which is again the very first time since they've been keeping track that there have been 0 student fatalities. So let's keep that trend going. So the pie chart, again, available in Parachutist. You can see the 2021 fatalities broken down into, you know, the categories. And you see the big, you know, 50% of that chart, these are landing problems. And they'll break those down further. We'll talk about that on the next slide. Then you've got a pretty fair chunk of medical problems, and then cutaway and low reserve deployment and incorrect emergency procedures. So just 4 categories this year, but again, the landing problems are what has taken people out the most. So there were 5 total fatalities during landing. They're broken down into 3 subcategories. One was there was no turn. It was the person just hit the ground at a high rate of speed going straight ahead. There were 3 intentional turns. So these were probably people attempting high performance landings. And there was 1 unintentional turn, which I'll speak to briefly in a moment. So the no turn happened when a person basically grabbed their front risers. They were in the pattern. The pattern was quite full, and they grabbed their front risers probably in an attempt to create some kind of separation between them and other people, so they could, you know, land quicker, I guess. And from the description, I believe, if I recall correctly, they just held the front risers basically until impact. So the point I took away from this is that what happened with this person is they allowed themselves to get kind of freaked out when they got in the pattern. The pattern became very full, and this person, and again, this is the conjecture that was in the description of the incident, probably decided, oh, there's too many people, I want to get down a little bit quicker, and they probably attempted a maneuver that maybe they had seen other people do, but they weren't familiar with it themselves, and they impacted the ground at a high enough speed that it caused them to die. So the thing I would like to take away from this, and the advice I would like to give everybody to think about every time you skydive, is once that free fall is over, you got your parachute open, you guys need to be thinking from the moment the parachute opens until you're safely on the ground. You need to be thinking about approaching the pattern altitude, approaching the pattern, and most importantly, maintaining a good horizontal and vertical separation from other skydives, okay, while you're making your way to the pattern. What I see on weekends when I stand out and watch landings, which has become a large part of my job, is I see clusters of skydivers all landing at the same, almost the exact same moment and very close together. People tend to want to land close to the beer line so they can get into the hangar quick, so they can get repacked and ready for the next jump quick. That doesn't need to happen that way. We've got a big enough landing area, and our plane, what's the maximum that we're going to take is 18 or 20, and it's about 18. So that's really not that many. So your guys' number one job flying your Canopy should be to fly it safely so that you can land safely and that everybody else can land safely. All right, so in line with this point, I would also like to make a special note to those of you who open your parachute and like to spiral. Okay, please stop spiraling. Okay. Especially at pattern altitudes. And at basically, I'm talking 2,000 feet or below. There's no point in spiraling other than jamming up the pattern. So all it takes is one person deciding they're going to spiral their canopy for a couple hundred feet, and all of a sudden the pattern gets all jammed up. Okay. If you want to spiral your canopy, do a solo high pull or a hop and pop so you have the pattern all to yourself. Please don't spiral on your way into or especially in the landing pattern, okay? You guys should be spending the entire canopy flight scanning the skies, looking where other people are, and trying to do your best to maintain that horizontal and vertical separation from other skydivers, excuse me. Think about your wing loading, think about other people's wing loadings. If you're on a lightly loaded, large, just off student status canopy, and you see a camera guy coming up behind you, you know they're on a very highly wing loaded small canopy. Give them the right of way, know that they're going to pass you quickly. And if you're right in the middle somewhere, like I said, just do the best you can to maintain that separation. Use as much of the landing area as you guys can so that we're not all bunched up in the, close to the beer line or whatever. And then you will never find yourself in a situation where you get freaked out by having parachutes really close and then try and, get to the ground a little faster and end up hurting or killing yourself. I'm going to speak about the unintentional turn next. This was a similar situation where a person just misjudged their approach in the pattern, made a turn that was too aggressive for the altitude they were at, and again impacted the ground at a high rate of speed and are no longer with us. So again, if this person had spent more time flying, keeping themselves separated horizontally and vertically from other skydivers, perhaps this could have ended differently. I'm also going to encourage everybody from the least experienced to the most experienced to sign up and take Flight 1, Flight 2 courses. Okay, it doesn't matter how many jumps you have. These courses are designed to make you a better and safer canopy pilot. And, you can see from the numbers that a good, half of the fatalities from last year, and it's been a significant percentage for a long time, are landing problems. So you want to try and eliminate that as much as possible. Intentional turns, again, these are generally people with a bit more experience who are attempting high performance landings and have made an error in judgment. Okay, so all of these landing problems resulted from an error in judgment, a canopy piloting error. So think about it. Again, the skydive is more than just the free fall part. You guys should focus on becoming really excellent canopy pilots. Do your best to, fly a really safe pattern, be predictable so other people, again, know what you're going to do, and please stop spiraling. There was one incident with incorrect emergency procedures. I don't remember the details on this one. Sorry, you'll have to read the article yourself. The point is, practice your emergency procedures frequently, and don't just think about the scenario of, oh, my canopy has, a break fire, a spinning line twist or whatever. Think about the really odd situations, like what would you do if you had a pilot chute in tow? What would you do if you couldn't find your main handle? Just think about the really odd ones. What would you do if you found yourself with two canopies out? These are the kind of scenarios you want to focus on, the ones that are rarer, okay, but they're more likely to cause you to have an incorrect reaction if you haven't thought about them and at least planned them out, right? There were 3 deaths related to medical problems. One was, they attribute it to mental health. This was a suicide. Isn't there really not anything we can do in a situation like that other than, realize that, maybe even people we know very well may have other stuff going on in their lives. If you see any kind of, warning signs that a person is, feeling depressed or not themselves, talk to the person or let people know. Try to avoid having a situation like that ever happen here. The other 2 were physical health. Usually, I believe they were both cardiac events that happened at some point on the skydive after the parachute opened, and both people landed unresponsive. So basically, their canopy landed, with no flare at all. Just they hit the ground unconscious and were. In one case, I believe the person was dead before the impact, but the second one definitely happened on impact. Finally, you had 1 cutaway and low reserve deployment. The thing about cutaway and low reserve deployments is the percentage of these has dropped a lot in the last 20 years for a number of reasons. One, because the use of AADs has become more accepted and basically the norm. Almost everybody that I know here has an automatic activation device. We've also, over the years, taken the opening altitudes and actually pushed them up a little higher. Like the recommended opening altitudes from the USPA have gone up, I believe, 500 or 1,000 feet for each category, like A and B are, was it 25 minimum? Used to be 2,000 minimum. The point is that if you guys, have 1 second or 2 seconds less of your free fall and allow yourselves to open your canopy of just a little bit higher, that gives you more time to react to and deal with any kind of problems that you might have under canopy, right? So the more time you have to deal with it, the less probably, panicked you're going to be, and the more likely you are to react calmly and correctly to that emergency procedure. Okay. Any questions about any of these? Again, I encourage everybody, if you haven't already read the article, read the article. It goes into the gory details if that's what you're into. And, you know, I don't want people to walk away from this thinking about, you know, skydiving and death, but rather, how can I avoid ever having that happen to me or to any of my friends, you know, or even people that I don't know, when I'm at a skydiving center? What can I do, everything in my power, to make sure that never happens to me or my friends? Okay, so next I'm going to move on to what happened to our little.
Click it again.
Oh, there we go. No? Oh well.
Oh,
Had a picture
sorry.
of an ambulance, you know. All right, we're going to talk about incident response. So we've seen at least a couple times each season. Last season we had a few big ones, but it's hard to have a season without at least one ambulance call to the drop zone. So what I'd like to talk about briefly is how we would like you guys, skydivers in general, to react, what to do, what not to do if there is some kind of an accident here on the drop zone. So we'll start with the do's. Please do remain calm, okay? It's not gonna help you or the person who's been injured to run around screaming, crying, whatever. You know, remain calm and focused. And you know, our number one priority is to get the help that this person needs. Oops, I did twice. Notify the manifest, the SMTA who may be out there, and an air boss if there's present. If necessary, we'll stop, you know, jumping operations, you know, prevent a plane from dropping or from taking off until obviously the emergency crews and vehicles have left the area. And then that'll give us time as well to, you know, figure out, you know, take care of the person, figure out what's going on. If you have a background in you know, and as an EMT or a doctor, if you have that kind of skills that you can bring to the site of the incident, by all means, please come and offer that help. But what we do want to avoid is having a bunch of people, and many of whom, you know, can't really help, being, you know, there and possibly getting in the way. You can assist with clearing the landing area, like getting other jumpers off the landing area, or trying to, you know, wave people who may still be in the pattern landing, waving them away from the site where the person's landing. You know, we don't want to add another injury to it by having another person, you know, get caught up in it. And then if possible, if it's a, you know, maybe just a twisted ankle or something, maybe we're going to be able to, you know, get the gear off the person, you know, without having to go the step of, you know, having to cut it off and stuff. So again, if you want to help with that, that'd be great. Please direct onlookers, you know, there may be people in the courtyard. Just try and keep the landing area, keep wherever the, you know, wherever the incident happened, trying to keep it clear and keep people, you know, back away from it unless they're, again, you know, qualified to help. A lot of times if this happens during the summer on a hot day, it's nice to, you know, provide some shade for the injured person. So 1 or 2 people can stand, hold up parachute or whatever, and shade the person while they're on the ground and waiting for the emergency response. If you happen to have video footage of the incident, I would like you to bring it directly to me or Ryan, who's another SMTA, Doug. Bring it to one of us so that we can use it to help determine what happened during the incident. This is an important part of my job, one of the SMTA's jobs is to report these types of incidents to the USPA so that they can keep a database and so that, you know, we can identify trends in stuff and try and nip stuff in the bud if we see, you know, if we see a lot of similar incidents happening. And everything is kept at USPA, everything is kept anonymous. So again, if your GoPro was running and you happen to be looking right at the incident, that can be very helpful. Finally, consider bringing your cell phone on every skydive. It's one thing to have someone kind of pound in front of the hangar where everybody can see it, but it's another thing if you have somebody land out on the east corner or towards the student landing area where maybe, you know, maybe you're that person, maybe you've injured yourself, there's nobody around. If you're able to use your phone and again, to call Manifest and let them know, hey, I'm on the ground, I'm injured, I don't think anybody saw me. Or again, you know, if you're in the landing area, it's good to have your phone on you. So consider bringing it for that reason. Okay, so the don'ts really quickly. Please don't panic, okay, relating to the first point of the last slide. Panicking is not gonna help you or anybody else in this situation. Don't add additional people to the scene of the incident. Again, if you have some kind of medical background, if you can, you know, if your presence there is going to help, then please do come and help. But if not, then please, you know, go back to the hangar and let us deal with this. Please don't speak to the spectators, especially non-jumpers. There's always gonna be lots of questions. And if you guys have ever seen any TV news reports of, you know, even sometimes the incidents that happen here, they often do a very poor job of relating, you know, exactly what happened. So just try and limit that information because people who, you know, spectators, especially non-jumpers who don't know what, you know, how a landing is supposed to look, or, you know, it's just going to end up cascading into, you know, it's going to blow things up and just not be a good situation. Please don't post on social media. Obviously, okay, the person that's injured has family, has friends who are on social media. The last thing that you want to do is find out that your loved one was injured at a skydiving center from, you know, opening your Facebook feed. Okay, this is a new problem we have in the last 10 years or so with the rise of social media. So again, don't do it. Don't spread misinformation. I can't remember why I put this slide in, or I'm trying to think of an example of what kind of misinformation you might spread. But, you know, maybe you're like, oh, that guy? Yeah, I know that guy. I've often seen him, you know, smoking or drinking. So he was probably drunk or high when this happened. You know, you don't know. So please, you know, don't talk about it. Don't talk about what you don't know. Don't share, sell, or license your footage. Again, it seems ridiculous to have to say this to people, but people do this. People will say, oh, wow, I got video of this incident, and maybe the local news will pay me money to take my video. Please, just don't do that. Be a human. Don't comment to the media either. Again, leave that to people like Doug and myself. If the media does get involved and does happen to show up, and believe me, they do monitor the emergency frequencies. They know when ambulances are dispatched to the drop zone. They know when life flight is dispatched to the drop zone, and they'll be here quick. So if they ask, if somebody approaches you and asks you to give a comment for, you know, for their channel or whatever, just please say no comment, walk away. And again, if you have anything, any details that you want to share, give them to myself or Doug, and we will end up, you know, interacting with any media that wants to know about the incident. Any questions? No? All right. Cool. Moving on. Really quickly, we're going to talk about movement group safety. Same format. I'm going to talk about the do's and the don'ts. I didn't feel really comfortable talking too much about movement groups since I'm not a movement group expert, but I can at least specifically talk to the points that kind of affect the operations that affect, you know, the skydiving as a whole. Okay, so please do attend a movement camp. Okay, we're offering, do we have a movement camp for beginners on the?
We do.
We do? Okay. So we've got movement camps. Okay. So if you're a brand new skydiver and, you know, or a skydiver with not a whole lot of jumps, or even a skydiver with a lot of jumps, but you've never done movement, and you hear about this crazy new fad the kids are into, like angle flying and movement. Okay. Don't just take it upon yourselves. Say, I watched a few videos and go out and try and do an angle jump. Please attend a camp where you can learn, you know, from someone who is way more knowledgeable than me, someone like Aaron, someone like Adam, you know, people that fly wingsuits all the time. Luis Pernetto will be here this summer, and I know there's more. John Franco, is he going to be here? I need to speed it up. All right. So attend a movement camp, all right? Please do limit the group size based on overall experience levels, okay? If you're organizing a movement group, don't make it 10 people just because there's 10 people that want to go with you. If you know that 4 people have the skill to fly with you and the other 6 don't, then tell them, nope, sorry, not this time. Limit the movement groups maximum 2 per load, okay? So that we don't have a whole lot of different angle stuff going on. That makes trying to load the plane very difficult. Please get approval from an SNTA before attempting to lead a movement group. All I'm asking is that you come to me or Ryan or somebody and say, look, I'm thinking, I've been to a camp, I want to lead a movement group, what do you think? If I know you and I know your skills, then I'll probably say, okay, good, you know, start with a small group. If I don't know you, or if I know your skills and they're not quite up to par, I'm gonna put the kibosh on it. Please thoroughly dirt dive the planned movement so that everybody in your group knows if there's going to be a turn, to what direction, and you know, this or that. We don't want movement groups kind of going randomly across the sky. The movement leader should always indicate their planned flight path on the board in the loading area. You guys are familiar with the board. We do have magnetic arrows. You know, some of them are like a 270 arrow and some are like a 90-degree arrow. So use those as the movement leader. Show everybody else on the skydive, this is how we're planning to move, and this is approximately where we would like to be when we open our parachutes. The movement leader should also coordinate the exit order and their flight plan with other movement groups and or wingsuiters, as well as free fall groups, okay? Basically just talk to each other in the loading area, figure it out, or even better, before you get to the loading area, you know, if you know who you're on the load with, tell Ann's belly group, hey, we're gonna go out before you, but we're gonna go this way and then do this, and then the other guys, they're gonna be at the back of the plane, they're gonna go that way and do that. Bring a cell phone. Again, sometimes movement groups land off. The don'ts, and then I'll be wrapped up here really quick. Please don't lead movement groups without approval. Yes, Ann? 2 per plane. Yeah, that's a question. Maybe, what do you think, Aaron? Is it like 1 movement group and then wingsuiters, or that's 2? Ideally, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the question was, how many do wingsuiters count as movement groups? And I'm going to say yes, and because they're moving, right? All right. Yeah. All right. So don't lead a movement group without approval, please. You don't know what you don't know, and we don't want you causing incidents. Don't underestimate the potential danger of movement skydives. Okay, you guys, a lot of these, especially the more advanced ones, when they're angling, they're getting really steep. Approach speeds can get very high, and know your limitations. Don't try and be on an angle group if it's beyond your skill level. Okay, that's the next point. Don't overestimate your abilities. Okay, be honest with yourself. Hey, I've done 3 tracking jumps since I got my A license. I'm ready to go on an angle jump with you. No, you're not. Please take a beginner movement camp and come back to me after you've done a bunch, of those. Don't attempt to learn by yourself, please. Find a coach. We're not gonna, be allowing random, solo people to try movement by themselves, okay? Any questions? Okay, that's me. That's my time.
Clash is next.
All right, Clash is next. He's joining us by webinar.
Thanks, Chris. Clash, can you share your mic?
Yep, hello, can you hear me? All right.
One sec, Clash, can't hear you yet.
You can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Did you fix it?
I am talking. Can you hear me now?
Oh.
Hello, hello, hello.
1 second.
You might not be able to hear me if I control the screen. Hold on a second. Take back control. Can you hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hold on. It is. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
He says he thinks it's the remote control.
No, everyone can hear me online.
Test.
It's the
Hey
people
guys,
live.
we had a break scheduled after this next section. Let's do it now. We just have to do a quick fix to make it so that Clash can present. So come back in 5, take a break, and we'll see you then.
Natalie, hello. Hey, so everybody online could hear me just fine. So I think if you do it that way, they might not be able to hear me. But see, like one of the things when I took control of the screen, I think that it took away my audio because you guys can hear me before. Because I did screen controls. I can just hit the plus sign and you can just advance it and I'll just talk from my computer if that works. Let's see if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yep, give it a try. Hello, hello.
Hold on. Can't hear you.
I know everyone else on the planet can hear me. Hi guys, sorry, they're trying to root it there. So you're gonna have to keep hearing me say hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can we just where do we put the mic on this? Huh?
There's no headphones on this phone.
How do you?
I was just gonna wire it straight into the mixer.
Can we just?
What's funny is everybody online's like, this is funny.
Gosh, I'm gonna hang up on your.
Okay.
All right. Keep talking. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Okay, try it now.
Does that sound good? That doesn't sound good.
All right, we have to. Dylan's working on it.
Don't make it squeal. See if I can control screen as well, if you're just gonna mic it up like that.
I can't hear you. Say it again.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Can I control the screen? If not, yeah.
I think you can. You just have to ask for permission.
I did.
I gotta go to the other computer. Be right back.
I can hear him. So if you can see me, because this one's in just view.
Hi.
Notices what?
Just getting past my bedtime, boys and girls.
Is it like 9 p.m.?
Can you hear me back?
Yeah, man, I'm an old man now. I can hear you.
Yeah, how do we just
What?
okay.
Parrot, you're on audio with the whole thing. There's a homeless guy jerking off in the road outside of our apartment. In case anybody heard that. Yeah. Shh.
Can you talk now, Flash?
Yeah, I can talk. Can you hear? Can you hear me now? Hey, guys, so whenever I go to take screen control, it doesn't work. So I'm just going to give you the thumbs up every time to advance control. That'll come through Facebook, Natalie.
Flash,
Yep.
just keep talking so I can set up the board. Or make noise or play
Yeah, tell us
something.
a story.
Banana. So you guys want to hear what's just happening outside of, no, you don't want to hear that. No. Apples. Hello. Check 1, 2. Can you hear me now? It keeps getting darker here. Oh, Shannon, I'll send that in a private message. I don't know if everybody wants to hear. We're here in Romania and it's dark now and things are happening outside of our apartment that are quite funny. Check 1, 2. Check. Can you hear me now? Hello, how's it going? Everyone online has to hear this too. Oh man, I could just screen share from my computer, but that's gonna hurt your sound system. So,
Police came.
oh, the cops are here now. Apparently, you're not allowed to do that on the side of the street. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm just gonna keep talking. I'm talking. I might talk louder, might talk quieter. Can you hear me now? Everyone else is like, unfortunately, we can hear you. Sorry, you guys live can't hear. Sorry to everybody else. Yeah, maybe music won't give the voice, but sure. Hold on. I'll put some music on. There you go. And you guys can judge off that.
Babe, I could turn the TV on. You want more light?
Hold on. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. It's cell phone music.
Dreams late at night. Fires on when I look in your
It's a play song.
eyes. Life's all black and
Yeah.
white. And you can't bring colors and
Yeah.
light. I was standing by your side. Like every moment you were there by my side. Hear me out, don't think twice. Don't take me back into the colors and light. Colors and light, colors and light. Don't take me back into the colors and light.
You want feedback and turn the light on?
Between crazy lights, you broke promise I can never get right. When things turn black and white, we'll stick together, everything will go right. Here I stand by your side, and every moment you were there in my mind. Hear me shout into the night. Now take me back into the colors and light. The colors and light. The colors and light. Now take me back into the
All right, dance party's over apparently. I need my break. Can you hear me now? Cool. Go ahead and advance the slide and we'll go from there. Natalie, could you advance the slide for me, please? Natalie, could you advance the slide, please? Hello, hello. I'm gonna leave and come back. It's not advancing on my screen, so I'll be right back. So on the online version, all I'm seeing is movement group safety, guys. Just letting you know. Sounds like the rest as well. Hi, Tammy. What if I just screen share my Google straight to your screen? Okay, let's try. Two seconds, try. All right, can you guys hear me? Can you see me? All right, let me get this in present mode here and we'll go from there. All right, can everybody hear me? We good? All is good, cool. So if there's anybody on here that doesn't know me, I'm Clash. There's a few things on here about me. I'm gonna try to keep this nice and brief for you guys because I know you've been sitting there for a while waiting for this to go through. Chris touched on a lot of the topics that I was planning on speaking on, so I'm just going to kind of reiterate on it a tiny bit and try to move through it quickly so that we can keep going from there. All right, again, same thing Chris said, check the board before every jump. For canopy safety, I see a lot of things happening where people are on loads that they shouldn't be on, right? If you're looking at the board and you're seeing some crazy wind number at a level that you're questioning, should I be jumping in this? Should I not be jumping in this? The answer has already been made for yourself, right? Make that decision at that point in time that we are not going to be jumping. We continuously see, as far as canopy safety is concerned, people without the experience level jumping in winds that they shouldn't be jumping in. Please, 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 we don't want to see anybody get hurt. If you're questioning that, either A, ask somebody, or B, if you're at the point where you're already questioning whether you should be jumping, the answer should probably be no. Again, same thing Chris said, communicate what you're doing on the load. If you're using an alternate landing area or the high performance landing area to do a big turn, it is in part of our pattern at CSC, so other jumpers need to be aware that you will be using that landing area. And again, should you even be jumping in these conditions? All right, so going back to the same thing, everything's all about flying smooth, safe, and predictable, right? Every time you're on a skydive, from the second you open your parachute, you're either on a canopy relative work jump or you're on a flocking skydive. There's people that exited the plane, maybe in a different group, and you're flying relative to them. So from the second your parachute's opening, don't get focused on anything. Keep scanning around you and making sure you're not going to hit anything, right? Even during your housekeeping, I see videos a lot, people looking up, grabbing their slider, staring at their slider. You don't know what direction you're going, right? Keep looking around and flying while you're doing all that. Continuously fly predictably. That goes back to what Chris said again. Do not spiral down. Separation is going to start to happen naturally, right? You don't need to get to the ground quickly. I promise you'll get there in plenty of enough time. And if not, we'll just start to learn to pack faster. When you open your parachute, separation is going to happen naturally. again, touching on Chris's point, faster canopies are going to have to pass you. If you keep spiraling down to try to stay in front of them, it's just going to get everybody there at the exact same time. Just let that separation happen naturally. And he mentioned vertical and horizontal. The main one is vertical, right? If you have horizontal separation, but you're at the same height in the landing pattern, you're already low, right? Because by the time you get to where they are, you're going to be below them. So at that point in time, make sure you keep that vertical separation. I always aim for, at least 100 yards above, 300 feet above, if I possibly can, because then by the time you get to where they are, that you can be in that same point at the same time and not get stuck behind a hanger, right? So think more about creating the vertical separation, which is going to happen more of not spiraling down. Again, all the way to the ground, continuously scan for other canopies in the landing pattern. Don't get fixated on where you're going to go, right? People get fixated a lot, and then they see somebody at the last minute and decide to make a turn or an aggressive turn close to the ground, and that can lead to more problems. Just the basics. I'm going to go quick because everybody should know this. We need 3 distinct legs in your landing pattern: downwind, base, and final. Be predictable. Even if you're using more of a modern funnel and drift pattern where you're drifting across in your base leg, it needs to be predictable. What's that mean? Keep your head on a swivel, not making S turns. Keep yourself flying in a straight line. One thing I want to stress on, because it happens every year, once you turn on final, that is your lane, unless for some reason you get cut off. You need to stay straight in that lane based on where the pattern is. A lot of times when people turn final, they see the beer line over there and they decide, I'm going to drift over this way towards the beer line, right? Well, somebody else had already picked that lane that might be coming down quicker behind you, and you've now cut them off at a low altitude. So even if that means landing a little farther away, where you decide to make your 90-degree turn onto final is the direction you're landing. Keep in mind, S turns at CSC aren't allowed. I know some places do allow it. You guys should know it at CSC. But once you're on final, you're flying straight ahead. Keep in mind, if you are cut off on final, only use minor corrections or break turns to avoid others, right? Just because you're cut off doesn't mean you need to do a big turn. You can bump 10 degrees to the left and land wingtip to wingtip with another parachute. The last thing you want to do close to the ground is make an aggressive maneuver. I can't stress that enough. Think about this in your own head right now. Have a plan. What will I do if I am cut off on final? What would your plan be? I just encourage everybody to think about that, because when it happens like that. Currency, downsizing, and canopy size, right? A lot of us aren't current right now. We've gone through winter. I know even for me on my own personal canopy, I'm not current at the moment. It's something to really think about, right? Just because you might have 500 jumps, 1,000 jumps, it's worth going through reviews in your head or asking a coach, hey, can you watch my landings, or what should I try on this jump? Just keep in mind that even with a lot of jumps, a longer layoff on any given parachute is something you need to consider, right? If it's been a long time, consider upsizing, even if that means demoing a canopy for a couple weeks just to get current again. And then I get into downsizing only after you've mastered your wing. I see a lot of people downsize just because, well, I've done 200 jumps and I can flare it properly. It's time to downsize. I'm going to get into a little bit more of that in a future slide, but you really need to know how to fly every aspect of that wing. And that doesn't just mean landing it. It means flying it in the sky, right? If you guys have any questions about downsizing, if you're ready, please come to us. As instructors, we really want to help. All right, so up on the screen here, I've put a canopy risk assessment. If you guys want to write this down and take it on your spare time, I'll also post it up in the chat for the people that are online. I know I'm not there. A lot of times people print stuff out and hand them out. I'm not a fan of wasting paper. This will basically tell you what kind of a danger zone you're in with where you're at in your parachute based on currency, canopy size, those types of things. So I encourage everybody to go online and take it. I know for me at this moment, after having done all of the last few of my jumps on a large lightning, I would fall into a higher risk category. Now I plan on going to get current this week, But that said, it's something to be aware of before you decide to push the limits. Everything goes into experience and currency, right? Total jumps, years in the sport, what you've seen, how many jumps in the last month? Am I jumping at a new airport, at a new elevation, right? All that goes into it. So something to think about is not just canopy size when you're selecting a canopy, right? The plan form of the wing, right? All of that goes into it. The design characteristics. Does it dive more? Does it float more, right? Does everybody know how to calculate their wing loading just so that you can have a starting point? That's also something to think about. And then another thing is, how many jumps do you have on the canopy you're currently on, even going forward into getting current again? Maybe if you've only done 10 jumps on that wing and taken 6 months off, maybe it's a good idea to upsize before coming back to it again. So I encourage everybody. So training and experience, right? That's what's going to go into keeping you safe near the ground. Chris already talked about it. Most of the fatalities, half of the fatalities were due to landing, right? And just because we all know how to land our parachute doesn't necessarily mean that we know how to land it inside of traffic or inside of, maybe you did a 20-way big way and you're capable of doing that, but we're all opening at 2,500 to 3,500 feet. It's going to be tough to create that vertical separation that we're looking for with another canopy. So again, taking canopy classes so you can learn how to not only land your parachute, but fly it in the sky. Flight 101, 102. Do a lot of dedicated flights, hop and pops, high pulls. And I'll stress this again, and it's not just because I love flocking, but learning how to fly your parachute in a crowded environment is a good thing. I know that we always try to stay far away from everybody else, but if we can figure out how to operate inside of that, we can anticipate what's going to happen when you are flying close to somebody else, and it won't make you make radical decisions when we're low to the ground. A little downsizing checklist for everybody. This one comes straight from USPA. Can you perform all these maneuvers safely on your canopy? Can you do a flat turn on final at 50 feet? Can you flare, turn 45 degrees and land? Have you landed your canopy crosswind? Have you landed your canopy with no wind? Can you consistently land your canopy with 10 meters to the target? Have you done any double front riser input straight approach? Again, before you do this stuff, please ask for coaching. Have you done a double front riser turn onto final? Can you land on a slight upslope, downslope? And have you done controlled landings with rear risers? Now, in the initial phases, in the initial phases of downsizing, some of these things might not necessarily be a good idea, which is why I stressed to you to come to us and ask for coaching in how to do that, or whether it's a good idea first. But it's a good place to start with, should I even be downsizing in the first place? Okay, I'll try to keep it short and sweet for you guys. Like they were saying, when you are flying close to other people in the pattern, everybody, looks at flocking as this is this, flocking event. Everyone's just going up there to fly parachutes close. But it's not just for people who want to be good at flocking. And that's why we're trying to expand this program for everybody, all the way from a 1.0 wing loading all the way up. This year, we created 4 camps total for everybody. In between those camps, there's going to be days available for private coaching if you want one-on-one with different people. There'll also be small group coaching available. Maybe there's a couple people that already know how to fly together and they want to get some more coaching. I'm really pushing this and encouraging it because I've seen things myself where people look up and there's somebody 30 meters away from them in a landing pattern, and it makes them want to pull a toggle, or as Chris said, pull double front risers all the way into the ground. When in reality, you guys can land wingtip to wingtip and it's okay. We don't want to do that on any given jump, but it's something we can do. So this year we've kind of opened up the whole Down to Flock program and our Flock University this year. I posted the dates up here on the right side. We have everything from our HP group from 2.2 to 2.9. The ultralight group, I really encourage people that have at least a B license, because that's when you're really going to get through learning the basics of the canopy, to come fly with us. We're going to start it in a very small setting so that you learn how to fly close to 1 parachute, maybe 2 parachutes at a time, and move on from there. The other one is the light program on the 12th to the 14th. We're going to keep that from wing loadings of 1.4 to 1.9. Again, that's a beginner to maybe intermediate course. You don't need to have flocking experience in order to do it. We just want to make flying parachutes safer for everybody. And I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to have a really good time if you do sign up. For Canopy Safety, honestly, Chris covered most of my points, so I kind of breezed through it really quickly. Thank you, Chris. But have a plan. Don't jump in conditions that you're questioning yourself in, and learn how to fly around other parachutes. Learn how to actually fly your parachute, not just land it. Be a Canopy pilot, not a Canopy lander, and it's going to make you safer in the sky. Cool. So if you guys do want to sign up for any of our programs, our registration links are there. On Facebook, it's Down to Flock. Instagram's at down_flock, 2flock_, yeah. All that fun stuff. There's also a link on the CSC events page. I really hope to see a lot of people at the lighter wing loading signing up for this year. It's not just something that's for the people flying HP wings. We really want to help people get comfortable flying around other parachutes and teach you how to do it safely rather than just having people try it on their own. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to Jenny, I believe. Can you guys hear me? I can't hear anybody else, but thanks for listening. I tried to keep it brief for you guys. Like I said, Chris covered a lot of my points already. Thanks so much for listening. Cheers. Salud. It is, after all, almost 9 o'clock here. Oh, hey, I can see my slides now.
Ratings corner brought in, discussing ignorance, indifference, arrogance. We're skydivers, we're type A's for the most part. We know what we're doing, we're confident, we're in control, we're having fun, we're sending it. And it's really easy to have some of those things start to become a problem. So I think it's kind of good to check in every once in a while. Are you taking advice if somebody's giving you advice? Are you blowing it off? Are you too cool to listen to the advice? Any of that kind of stuff. If you're answering yes to any of that, have that be something that you're checking your mindset on, okay? And then the last one, peer pressure. I hear a lot of people after somebody's had a malfunction. Is that me? I have no idea. Okay. A lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't have taught that. It's not your choice if it's not your skydive. If it's your skydive, you are the person who's responsible. You're the person who's looking out for your own safety, for your own life. And if someone wants to tell you, oh, you should have fought it longer, you should have wrote it down longer, you should have taken more time, there's no need to listen to that person. It's your life. So how are some ways that we can avoid these tendencies? How often are you going through your EPs? How often are you staying current in your head? How often are you touching your handles in the order that you would use them? Are you practicing in the correct way that you would pull them? In AFF, we learned to do this on the ground and in the plane before exit. I feel like I almost never see people in the loading area practice pulling their handles. Same thing in the plane. Make sure you know where your handles are, okay? Checking your clothing. If you're gonna be jumping something that's a little bit different than what you're normally jumping, if you're jumping not in your normal jumpsuit, check it out. Is your jersey gonna come up, cover your handles? Is something going to be out covering your handle back here? If you're jumping with a tutu or a onesie or a bathrobe, you know, make sure that you're thinking about that. You're putting a little bit of extra thought into it. Maybe you're giving yourself a little bit more time as you're opening to locate everything. Reviewing your decision altitude. What is a decision altitude? Is that like, oh yeah, I'm great and I can keep going? No, decision altitude means that you need to be taking action, okay? Is that me?
Yeah. Just hit a button.
It's like you right click. Just wiggle them out.
I got it. I got it.
You're speaking as well.
Yay, thanks. Visualize your jumps. Practice good muscle memory. We all practice, I feel like, we all practice in our heads how we want the jump to go. Are we also practicing what's going to happen if your canopy comes out and it doesn't look good? Okay. And make sure that you're building in altitude awareness. So key things to practice. When your canopy comes out and you're not happy with it at all, panic. Oh, take a big deep breath, check your altitude. How much time do you have to deal with it? And then is it high speed versus slow speed? If it's a high speed malfunction, you're not gonna have a whole lot of time. If it's a slow speed malfunction, you might have a little bit of time to try to deal with it. Okay. So decision altitude. I know these two terms will vary a little bit depending on when you started skydiving, where you started skydiving, all of that kind of stuff. Decision altitude is deciding, do you want to land your canopy as it is? Not like, oh yeah, I still have 3 more line twists. Pretty sure I can kick out of this and then I'll be good. You might still have something else that's wrong as well. And now you're really low and that creates more problems, okay? So in AFF, it's 2,500 feet for your decision altitude. That is what we consider to be a nuisance turning into a malfunction. So if I have line twists at 2,500 feet, it is no longer a nuisance, it's now a malfunction, okay? That altitude might change with your experience level. We still have the opportunity to stay at 2,500 feet for as long as we want. Sometimes people will even take their decision altitudes up over time with experience, having seen random things happen. And that's never a bad choice either, okay? If you give yourself more time to deal with it, you're going to have a better overall experience once you get your reserve open. There are still things that can go wrong with your reserve. You can still be looking for a good landing area. Any of that kind of stuff, giving yourself more time is always best. Below 1,000 feet. Do you want to get rid of your main if you still have one? Nope. You want to get more fabric out. Okay, so if you're below 1,000 feet, probably don't want to cut away before you pull your reserve. You just want to get your reserve out, have more fabric over your head. Okay, and so sometimes as you guys are practicing with that muscle memory, make sure that's something that you're planning for as well. So what are some different things that we can do to make ourselves be prepared for these eventualities? A lot of times people will go 4,000 or 5,000 skydives and they won't have a single problem. And then someone has a malfunction and they chop. And then their very next jump, they go up, they chop again. I've seen 3 different people have 3 chops in a row. I mean, statistics just happen the way that they're going to happen. So make sure that you're staying current all the time. I have been skydiving all winter. I am still current, but I also haven't made a skydive in 3 weeks. So before I come out to skydive next weekend, I'm going to be practicing my EPs. I'm going to be going through everything, okay? If you haven't made a single skydive, if you haven't made a single skydive all winter, make sure that you're giving yourself a little bit of time. Talk to people, watch some video. You can. Is this you?
Put the mouse. Put the mouse. No, put the mouse on the phone. When she moves, it shakes.
Is it warm in here or is it just me? Okay, thanks. Give me less things to do. Perfect. So make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to think, practice. Let's see, make sure that you're practicing things properly. We all know that practice makes perfect, or that perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, so make sure that you're not practicing poorly. One of the things that I see that I have been guilty about myself in the past is people are practicing this way. Is this going to work? No, I'm going to have a really hard time getting my hand out. Okay, so making sure that you're practicing properly. Finding visuals, you can go to the PD website, you can go to the AFF classroom, you can get all kinds of different things if you feel like a visual is going to help you with your practicing. If you're jumping rental gear or borrowed gear, make sure that you take a little bit of extra time. You know exactly where your handles are. If you're jumping something else, it's probably not going to fit your body very well. It's probably going to shift around, move around a little bit. Make sure that you guys are taking the time to become familiar with where your handles are. Demoing a reserve is a really good thing. If you've never done that, a reserve will fly differently, and most importantly, it's going to flare differently. And if you're getting a reserve out at 500 feet, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to do a practice flare to really like see how it's going to land. If you have a chance to do one in a non-stressful situation, it's going to help you out quite a bit. Knowing good alternate landing areas ahead of time is a really good one. As you're driving in, scout some different areas. Know, hey, this might be a good off landing if I happen to be way out over here. There aren't power lines on this side of the road. Stuff like that can help you if you're in one of those very bad low scenarios, so that you don't wind up making some low turn to avoid an obstacle. Okay. In that kind of moment, you know you're already going to have your stress very high. You're going to be like pumped and amped. And if you know where you're landing ahead of time and you know you have a good clear space, it's going to help keep you calm. Learning from others. So piggybacking on what Chris was talking about here, read the incident reports. Take the time to get to know what happened. One of the best things that I think we can do for ourselves in skydiving is learn from others. So when you see that something has happened, find out information about it, find out maybe what kind of decisions went into what happened, and then put yourself in the moment like, okay, what would I need to do differently? Okay. So things that you need to make sure that you're remembering: maintain your altitude awareness, follow your decision altitude, locate your handles in the manner you were taught. Some people were taught two-hand heel and punch. Some people were taught one and one. It depends on when you learned, where you learned. Stick with what you've practiced and what you know, okay? Remembering to peel and punch is super, super, super important. If you have never put on your rig and pulled your handles, it's a really, really awesome thing to do. When you go to drop off your rig at your rigger, put it on, tighten everything down, pull your handles, and you will find out that most people try to punch straight forward, which is very hard to do. And if you're trying to do that in free fall and you're doing this, you're going to panic completely when it's not coming out. Make sure you're peeling, you're releasing the Velcro, you're punching, okay? On here, direction matters. I had an awesome comment given to me, suggestion by Andy? Not Andy. Hi, may I share your information? Yes? Okay, so Andy made a really awesome suggestion to me that I've never heard before. I've always practiced releasing up and punching down, and she made another recommendation that I had not heard, which for her works better, to peel this way and punch down. It's all gonna be about your leverage, especially for, I'm gonna say for girls. It's all about leverage and making sure that you're not pushing straight out against the forces. Okay, if you think about how your cable's coming out here, plus your Velcro force, you are making it harder to cut away rather than peeling and punching, making sure that you have a good full clear on your cables. Please pull both of your handles. Don't be the person who's like, woohoo, get a skyhook. Equipment can fail, people can fail. don't wait for your sky hook. Pull both handles every single time, okay? If you have no RSL, waiting to get stable can cost you a whole lot of time. It can, absolutely. Be prepared to deal with an imperfect reserve. Your reserve can come out with line twists. Your reserve can come out with a tension knot. Your reserve can come out with a line over, okay? If you don't jump with a hook knife, consider buying a hook knife, okay? Your reserve can come out with a problem. Giving yourself more time to deal with it is going to help you out a whole lot. If you can't make the main landing area, thinking back to what we were just talking about, try to have some different places lined out where you know that something is an open area, and prepare for a PLF. Questions on any of this? All right. So last year's fatalities, 2 of them fall into the category of malfunctions. One of them was the incorrect DPs. So again, go back to making sure that you're practicing things properly, that you're thinking about those different kinds of eventualities. Not every malfunction is going to be line twists that you can't get out of, okay? There are a whole bunch of things that can happen, and when things happen, they happen really quickly. If you are more current and practiced in your brain and you have been practicing things properly, that is going to help minimize incident risks quite a bit. And then the other was the low cutaway, and reserve deployment. Again, make sure you give yourself time and don't, I'll leave that right there. Okay. So in summary, all the things that we were just saying, extra altitude, stay current, practice, try to avoid being complacent, and then all of the other things as well. If somebody's giving you advice, there might be a reason that they're giving you that advice. Feel free to ask that person questions. Feel free to ask someone else. Chris is an excellent resource. Doug is an excellent resource. We have tons of excellent resources out here. If someone comes to you and they're like, hey, I think you should be doing this, and you're not quite sure, go and ask somebody else. Or if that is a person that you trust, ask them to give you more information, okay? Let's see. Good, all right. Okay, so next thing that I'm covering is loading order, which to me makes most sense if we talk about what the end result is. So here's a graphic that I stole from Spaceland and made for us. My dots are not all the same size, and things are not straight and even and organized, and I'm sorry. This slide alone took me about 45 minutes, and I was extremely frustrated by the time that I was done, so this is what we got, okay? So what we're looking at here is a jump run of 2.5, ground speed of 100 knots. I'm not sure if you guys can read that down here. So we're talking about just in generic, okay? So for a ground speed of 100 knots, we're gonna be looking at 6 seconds of separation. So that's what we're seeing here, 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 and here, okay? So angle jump would be leaving first, as we've already talked about. Hopefully they are going to be looking at the uppers and planning for where they need to be going to give themselves the best chance of making it back. So the yellow dots represent your free fall area. So let's say this should be yellow, but I didn't have time to figure out how to make it yellow. This would be where they're opening. So the red is your opening area. So it's trying to show kind of what areas you would be free falling in, what areas you're going to be opening in. Make sense? Okay. So angles here at the beginning, a big way belly, a small way belly. They're giving a little bit more separation because this is a bigger way group, just to make sure that these aren't overlapping. Sometimes we have those really awesome trackers and they're tracking at each other, and yeah, we want to make sure they don't meet. Free fly, bigger to smaller. Tracking, making sure that it's going the opposite direction than what's being planned here. And this is where the board out here helps a whole lot. If you can walk up to the board and you can see exactly where everybody's going to be going, it helps everybody plan. Little climb out for AFF, and then tandems are going to be doing an immediate climb out. Tandem climb out is going to be about 5 to 7 seconds in most scenarios. And then at the end, wingsuiters. Again, this is not yellow, sorry about that. Some other things that we're going to be adding in, and I'm going to leave this To the people who are within these categories, crew is going to exit according to where the winds are and what works safest for that entire load. XRW, same thing. They would be looking at what the uppers look like, what the rest of the load looks like, and they're going to be able to insert themselves in safe fashions. I have a nod in the front, yes? Okay, excellent, thank you. Canopy flocking, same thing. Sometimes they are going to get out at the beginning, sometimes they're going to get out at the end. It's gonna depend a little bit on what the winds are doing and what the person who's planning that jump is going to be doing. And then Maxine. Maxine typically gets out first. First or first after angles? First total, yep. So she's typically getting out there. So that would be something, Maxine is perfectly well qualified enough to say, I am getting out here. If you're ever unsure about where to get out, always ask somebody. Staff will always help you out. S&TA, if they're out there, always ask for help if you're unsure. Oh, there you go. All right, so this little guy's in the plane. You guys have all seen this, right? Yep. One of the things that has helped me a lot when, you know, it's kind of chaotic and you're excited and you're ready to go and you're not quite sure what someone said, and then, oh, hey, I have to do math in my head, but I can't reach the chart because the chart's over there. I do the 10 and 6. And that's what helps me out. So if you guys have never thought about that before, if we're doing 100 knots, I have 6 seconds. If we're doing 60 knots, I need to take 10. So I reverse those two and then kind of bump it along in the middle as I'm getting closer to the door and I can actually see this. Questions on any of that? All right, last one. So now, loading order. We want to load in reverse order. Please be ready and waiting for the plane. If your group is still practicing in the door while the plane rolls up, you're late. Please, please, please already be lined up. As our jump tickets are now going up in cost, if we are ready and we're not making the plane wait, that's your effort right there to help keep the costs from going up again. Okay? First out is last to get in. So if you've got your group and your video person's trying to get on first, give them a little nudge. Video person should be getting on last. Try to reverse engineer as much as possible. Wingsuiters, then tandems, then AFF, trackers if you've got them, free flyers, small to large, belly jumps, small to large, angles, and then anyone else who would be within that other category that we talked about would be inserting themselves in there. Hey, all right, any questions? All right, thanks guys.
Great job, Jenny, thank you. All right, since we already had a quick break, we're just gonna do a quick stretch break. So everyone stand up, tilt your head to the right, tilt your head to the left, roll your shoulders, stretch up, stretch to the right, left. Now, everyone look under your seat and tell me if you find something. And if it's nothing under your seat, check other seats for a paper. Does anyone win? You should have a paper that says you win. It's yellow. Look to the seat to the right or left of you. All right. What's your name? Joel. Joel? All right. Visual gave us 30% off, right? 30% off AAB. So congratulations. All right, Zach, you're up. Zach Foreman, everyone, guys.
All right. Well, welcome to Safety Day, everybody. Two things real quick. If you have a cell phone on, please make sure that it's on vibrate or silence. I know a couple of small things I heard, so just be respectful with that. And thank you to everybody else that already presented. Earlier, Jenny noted on complacency. So myself, I've taken well over half the season off due to a back injury, just due to complacency. So learn from me and my pile of medical bills. don't do it. All right. Stay in practice, pay attention to what you're doing. Every skydive is something that could be life threatening. All right. Cool. You got the clicker?
Yeah.
I talk with my hands too. I'll just point at you. Learning lessons today. Wingman mentoring, that's why I'm up here today. This is something we put into effect for the last couple of years. I'm really proud of it. I know a lot of you guys here in-house and a lot of people that are joining us online have participated as both mentors, coaches, and even some video flyers for us as well. It's been a great program. It's free coaching and free load organizing. We do monthly educational skills camps. These are beginner-based and focused. And it's also a social group for introductions to other jumpers. All right, so what's new this year? We listened to a lot of feedback last year, so we are making some kind of changes to our format. Designated mentors. So mentors are going to be more easier to identify, and Manifest is going to have a list. With that, please help me, help you, help Manifest. If you guys have been mentors in the past, because I can't remember everybody's name all the time, please come up to either reach out to me via social media, talk to me today, or whatever. I'm going to gather a list so that way I can get it to Manifest this year and make it easier for all of our newer jumpers. Organized events, we have solo looking to build events. These are going to be happening every month, just like the last couple of years. But the change is we're only going to be doing a Saturday day of jumping. So we've gotten rid of the Friday group dinner and all that. We are moving to a group dinner. It's going to be cost-based only. Probably be figuring out the menu day of, tacos, pizza, whatever it is. Natalie in the group here within the Manifest group is going to be able to charge that to your Burble account. So the day we're doing the jumping, just let us know if you're going to be in there for the food that evening, and we'll make sure we can arrange for the right number of people. Lastly, structured dive flows. We have gone through and adjusted dive flows just by feedback over the various events over the last couple of years. So there are going to be a few new things coming up. But, all right, what's not new? Who can participate? The Wingman mentoring is for jumpers of 25 to 100. All right, Wingman mentoring is free jumps for you. CSC and Freefall University is sponsoring a mentor to jump with you to help learn the basics, right? AFF doesn't cover everything. Or Freefall University does not cover all the aspects, as many of you have found out. Any licensed jumpers 100 jumps or more may qualify to be a mentor. Requirements for doing that are a USPA coach or equivalent experience, along with interview and skill verification. Skill verification is a set of jumps that either myself personally or a designated mentor will be performing with you. These are to make sure that both the way that you're teaching people and what you're teaching people meet the standards that we want to be promoting. All right, so what are we actually doing? First couple of years, I was very ambitious with what I wanted to teach people, and since then I've learned that we really need to focus on the basics. Those basics are tracking, belly skills such as turns and fall rates, even exits, and small formation work, relative work with 2 others to 3 others. I don't really need to go into those details. Those are pretty special. I think most people know it if you're here. So what should you be expecting? Structured jumps. These are fun dive plans. Everything is already pre-planned. I've got presentations, revamped, all fun colors. You guys are gonna love it. It's all gonna be small groups of 3 or less. Now that's the 4 ways, of course, you're gonna be 4 people. I mean, that's a very specific thing. But all the camps are based around small group jumps. The tracking camps, we will even be going as far as doing individual jumps if the skill level is not there, to get people up to the point where you can join in with group jumps. For briefing and debriefing, we do require video debriefs. Most mentors, including Anne, has finally worn a camera for me. So thanks, Anne, for joining in on this. Quality instruction and feedback and personalized attention. That's what I would expect for myself, is what I want to be able to give back to you, and what I want for all the rest of the mentors and the program in general. So how do we join in? Visit Manifest and they'll add you for the list of the day. So what we do offer we offer the Wingman mentoring on weekends for sure, and weekdays if we have mentors available. Just based on the number of instructors and mentors, the weekdays are questionable, but like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, typically we have mentors enough to be able to help out. CSC will cover the mentor slot. You just need to cover your own. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look at this. I already went into that. So every weekend again, just make sure to come up and manifest, put your name on the list and ask. And every month we are hosting these monthly skill events. These are what we call the Solo Look and Build, or SLTB. It's sponsored by the Wingman Mentoring Group, myself, and Freefall University. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Again, quality briefs and debriefs. Every event comes with a safety presentation. It's about an hour worth of both hands-on, physically movement, information you may not know, but also focuses on the things that you may not know to even ask. Average, we go 3 to 5 jumps depending on the group sizes and or how the weather's going that day. We do 3 types of camps, like I talked about, tracking, turns, and then our 3 and 4 way. There are going to be 2 turn camps and 2 tracking camps this season, as long as weather's good. I don't necessarily intend to add any more because that's a full schedule, especially for myself, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And on to Ann.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mom. So before I get started, I did want to throw out a big thank you to Carolyn and Doug. I think that the priority they've put in growing skydivers is not something you see in a lot of drop zones, and they have made that a part of CSC, and I'm proud to be part of that. What you've already seen, I'm going to kind of roll into my little piece about Sunday skills, because it's really the last piece of that what they do here. For me, growing skydivers has always been important. I've always wanted to give back to the sport that's given to me and the people that helped me in the beginning. And I think I've always thought of it like school. So I'm going to do a little analogy and then I'll tell you about Sunday skills. So for me, that AFF student, it's like elementary school. You know, they show up, they don't know anybody, it's scary. And then they find out it's not so bad. Somebody's going to take care of me. There's going to be some instruction. Someone's going to evaluate me, which is really scary. But I'm going to make it through, and there's a lot of support and a lot of care given to those students. And then all of a sudden they're told, hey, you're going to go make 2 solos by yourself. Okay, I'm in junior high. I had just left my little nucleus and I'm by myself, but then they find out, guess what? Someone's going to check the spot. Someone's going to check your gear. Someone's going to make sure you landed okay. And they're going to talk to you about that as well. Okay, I'm still supported. High school, here I come. I've got to do some coach jumps, which is really fun. And I've got to get evaluated again, which is not so fun. And I'm really scared, but I make it through. I graduate. I got a big stamp on my head. I get to sign a wall and I get a really cool picture. And now I'm allowed to skydive by myself and I'm on my own. Well, the thing that's really nice at this particular drop zone is you're not on your own. You get to sign up for continuing education and you get to choose from lots of different stuff. You find out that just skydiving with other people with 25 jumps, it's not the same. All of a sudden you don't see another person that you left the plane with. And maybe you don't even see them under Canopy. So you decide that you need to sign up for some more stuff and somebody tells you about the Wingman, which is, you're like, great, coaching, free, awesome. I can get back to getting some of those skills that I learned originally. And then I find out about the Solo Looking to Build. I get a nucleus, a group of people. We're going to work on one skill for multiple jumps. I'm really going to see myself advance. So this is all encouraging them to build confidence along with their skills. We've got the Flight 1, which is amazing that we can have that our drop zone. So that to me is all like college, right? So we're in college, we're taking all those classes. We finished college, we've done all this stuff, and we're like, well, now what do I do? I gotta intermingle with all of these people around the drop zone. I've seen these cool groups doing different things, but how do I get there? And we've got the great camps. But we also have a consistent program, which is the Sunday skills. And it's really meant to be that time frame after all of that other stuff is done. It works for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I get people that have retired from skydiving for a few years. They may have 400 or 500 jumps, but they're going to go do this because they need to get their skills back because it's been a long time since they've been in their air. Maybe it's that person that's not ready to give up school yet, so it's their graduate program, and they just want to continue with that continuing education. Or it's somebody who's found that they've kind of jumped all around, and then somebody has their 1000th jump, and they're like, cool, I can go do this 1000th jump. And they go to track to that jump, and they either don't make it, take it out, or are low. And they're really bummed because they didn't get to be in their friend's jump. So they're like, you know what, I got to reel back at myself and get back to some of those basic skills. That is really what this is all about to me. It's every Sunday. I'm being the hangar right around time to make the first jump so we can get a little bit discount on our jumps. I ask the group, hey, anybody have individual things they personally are wanting to work on? And I'll design the jump around those skills that they want to work on, whether it's making polite docks, tracking better, not when they break and they're not diving down and deploying underneath the group because they can't get away. We'll work on a lot of that to make everyone feel more comfortable jumping in larger groups. Generally, when I land, we come in, I want everybody to take care of their gear. I take care of my own gear. I let that adrenaline level come down, and then we kind of debrief that jump after about 15 minutes. And then we say, hey, anybody else want to go again? And if they do, great. So it's not a curriculum. It is not a sign up for 3 to 5 jumps. It's, you can come and go into it. I love when experienced people come along if they want to work on getting back on their belly. If it's been a while, it really helps with the younger jumpers to have a couple of us that are more seasoned. I could also, just putting this out there, if anybody's interested in helping lead some of these, there are some Sundays I can't be here. And also a lot of times on Sundays, I have too many people than I can take and make it worthwhile for everybody. So let me know if you're interested. It's a really fun way to help people stay in the sport. One of the things I heard earlier is there's 37,000 skydivers right now. I think that's been the same number when I started 20 plus years ago. So we have to continue to keep people skydiving, or it's never going to really get a lot bigger, I don't think, but we want to keep it the same. So that's my spiel on Sunday. Thank you, Ann. All right, up next, Steve.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Berner. I run the gear loft here and online gear sales, Rock Sky Market. It's good to see my Sky family out there. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about on preventative, I guess, gear maintenance kind of stuff, and how to take care of your gear. And everyone has the question, how long will my gear last? The real concise and specific answer is it depends. It depends on things like how you land and how you treat your gear and sticking to your plan and landing where you want to and the area where you jump. So we go to the next slide and another one that we may have all seen. So there's just kind of to break the ice there. So you can go to the next slide. So basic common causes of the wear and tear right here is basically where you're going to jump. Are you jumping around saltwater, freshwater? Are you jumping around desert? Pretty much the rule of thumb has always been kind of 2-for-1 jumps if you're jumping in the desert. You're going to get about half life off your canopies and your lines because that sand is very abrasive and it's just sandpaper basically rubbing against your gear while you're opening. So these are the things you got to worry about. Now, here in the Midwest, you probably have the best chance of having longevity on your gear. And gear right now, and I've seen in the last year, has gone up $1,000. Now you're not even going to walk out with a new set of gear now, unless you're going to drop about $8,000 minimum. And when I started, it was like $3,500. So also taking care of your gear where you store it, keep it in a dark bin. Basically, don't let sunlight get to it. UV is very destructive to your gear. I know that's where we jump, but get it out of the sun as quick as possible. And then we can go to the next one. And I'm moving right along here so we can just push through. A lot of you guys heard it before, yeah. But also there's some people here that have not heard it. It's good review, and it's also for the newer jumpers. This is going to be something for you to learn, because what happens is a lot of people nowadays are hiring packers, way more packers. When I started, no one was hiring packers. Now the majority of jumpers have packers. Packers are not, if they see something, they're going to tell you about it. But you got someone who's packing maybe 60 in a day, and they are busting their butt to get the next pack job done. And they're rushing, right? But they're doing a good job, but they're not there to inspect your rig. So it's up to the owner of the gear to be responsible for if they're going to jump that rig or not. It's not up to the packer. All right. You are in charge of your own safety. And what I want to do is sort of build your knowledge set a little bit, just so you can be a safer jumper and look after your own stuff. Especially if something funky happens, that's real important. Meaning if all of a sudden you have a tarmac belly slide landing that you just ground, like you belly flapped your gear in, you want to have a pretty good thorough inspection of your gear before you go on your next jump. Some very adverse things could happen during that, which could put you in danger. We can go to the next one. So we usually go to, I don't know, usually UPT and PD. Sometimes we'll talk to Mirage about getting this information, but most of us agree that UPT and PD probably has the most research and development and test jumping on their gear. So a lot of times I lean on them for their information. And just talking about risers alone, you get about 600 jumps off them, but usually around 350, I'm keeping my eye on it. And that it depends on your wing loading as well. How much weight are you putting under your wing? Can you go to the next one? So the Canopy, you can get about 1,500 to 1,800 jumps off a Canopy. Again, depending on where you jump. PD says 1,000 to 1,500. They also are in the business to sell you new canopies. And they've seen Sabres last 2,500 to 3,500 jumps. They can last if you take good care of them. A lot of times people just want to downsize pretty quick and get to the next size, but go ahead to the next one. Pilot chutes, these are something to think about. Pilot chutes don't last as long as a canopy. There's a lot of wear and tear and forces that go on that pilot chute. About 300 to 500 jumps. Again, when I hit about 300 jumps, I'm starting to take a close eye on it. You're looking for weave separation on the mesh part, any holes that are starting to form, where the bridle attaches to the handle. Is that starting to pull apart? Where the pilot chute attaches to the handle and where the bridle attaches to the pilot chute, is the stitching coming apart? Also, with the kill line on those pilot chutes, you literally need to pull it out every once in a while. I would say every 50 jumps, 25 jumps is a good time to do a more thorough inspection of your gear. And maybe even your last jump of the day is what I would do before I would hand it off to the packer. I would end up taking twist out of my brake lines. If you don't know how to do that, just ask. It's super easy to take the twist out of your brake lines, so you're not having a huge bunch of twists messing up your line trim. But getting back to that pilot chute, literally pull that kill line out from the bridle to where you can get the most look at it. I pull it out from the window to the pin, from the window towards the pilot chute, from the pilot chute towards the window. I'm wanting to get as best look at it as I can. And what you're looking for, is it fraying? Is there any nicks coming out of my kill line? A lot of times people can replace their kill line without replacing the pilot chute. I've never really done that. I just generally like it all kind of goes at the same time, and I'm kind of lazy there, and I just buy a whole new pilot chute. That's what I do. Okay, go to the next one. So lines, it's important to inspect your lines. You can get about 300 to 500 jumps off lines. You know, again, sometimes more, sometimes less. There's no magic number to this, but the thing you want to look at your lines is where it attaches to your canopy. Everywhere there's an attachment point, especially on the stabilizers, you want to pull up to see if that bar tack's coming undone from your canopy. Also, a lot of times people don't know this, but people are getting more educated now about it. I always just looked at the lines when I was new, and they looked pretty good. And then I had some lines snap on me. And the reason behind it was where the lines attached to my riser underneath where you can't see it. You need to put some slack in there, turn it around and look. That's where the most wear and tear happens on your lines. Usually it'll get black and melted. And when it starts getting all black and melted looking, it's getting time to get a reline on that thing. Also, you'll notice things like if something on your riser has a hard spot on it that's cutting into one of your lines, you'll never know if you don't look, and your packer's not doing it. They're not doing that thorough of a check on your lines. Cool. So yeah, question? No? Okay. Okay. So there's, oh yeah, the slinks on there. It's different opinions. Some people like to replace their slinks, which attach the lines to the risers. They'll replace them every reline. A lot of times I'll do a thorough inspection of mine, and many times I get away with doing it every other reline. But look at it and you decide if you, when you take it up, if you get your reline here, if you want new slinks, just ask for new slinks. We got them in stock. Cool. So we can go to the next one. Let's see where we are. This is just a line chart just to briefly show you how much strength loss is lost. And this is just microline right here. If you have a lot of Vectran and HMAs being used nowadays, we have a line, different line types. If you're not even sure what you jump, you can come up to the loft and ask. We have different charts that show wear and tear for different line types up in the loft. This is just microline, just to give you an idea of when your lines start looking this fuzzy, you're at an 80% strength loss. So you're actually kind of in a pretty high risk zone of having some sort of broken line malfunction happening there. The slider is important to look at. And again, it's about 500 jumps-ish. You know, you want to start really keeping a close eye on your slider. Just usually the heavy wear point is where the kill line goes through. You start burning holes in your channel. And it's not uncommon to have a channel replaced or a patch on that area. And a way to prevent that is just be slow. A lot of people like really just are so quick, they kill their slider. Nice and slow and easy. There's really no big rush, you know, slow, smooth as fast. And as long as you're not doing anything, nothing funky happens, the Kubota's not running over your slider, that kind of stuff, you usually don't have to worry about it. Let's go to the next one. All right, we're gonna move on to webbing. And I know that was brief and I may not have said everything totally correctly. So if I said something wrong, just ask me about it. Is there any questions about what I just went over? All right, we're gonna have Tracy come over here with a rig. He's gonna go over looking at the container and basically the webbing on your container. He's gonna tell you what things to look for when you inspect your own gear. Yes, sir. The reserve will be inspected. We don't expect just a non-rigger fun jumper to be inspecting the reserve. Reserves need to be, whether they're used. I usually do not recommend just a sport jumper to open up their own reserve and start inspecting it. I would do it with help of a rigger, but we do a thorough inspection of reserve regardless every time we repack it. If I'm not answering your question, I'll get with you one-on-one and we can go over it. Yeah. Cool. Tracy. Oh, okay, cool.
You want me to look here while you move it?
Here, yeah. It's this one.
All right, again, guys, if you have any questions, and I know that was kind of quick, please come up to the loft. We will be more than happy to help you out.
All right, welcome. My name is Tracy, if anybody hasn't met me before, but I'm just gonna go through, make this quick as possible. Blue is up, green is down, pull before you hit the ground. Is that good? Am I done?
You're good.
Oh, okay. All right, Steve kind of covered a lot of this. That's obviously bad. So when we're looking at a rig, what I like to do is I always start at the top. I don't know how much you went through the.
I didn't start with the 3.
Okay. All right, each piece is put together individually, so we want to make sure that you don't have anything doubled up. One thing, I can't really do. All right, basically start at a rig and work your way down. Your RSL, make sure you don't have anything just hanging out and dangling. On the back side, this is probably one that gets overlooked a lot, is where your yellow cable and this junction is. It's up against this reserve riser. So you want to kind of look in here and make sure that you're not getting anything that might look like that. and that's on the reserve riser behind the main riser. But just start, go down. We like to pull these mud flaps down, look for any broken stitching that might be hiding behind this flap. Go down, same thing. This one's fully articulated. So you want to make sure that anywhere this is wrapped around, because you get housing here that could be rubbing up against here. Type 7 webbing is, you can tell by the yellow stitch on the outside. If you ever see any of these stitches broken, this harness is done. You'll have fuzzy stuff. Over time, it'll get worn. And you might have some fuzz, but that's until you start actually breaking stitches or see threads that are coming out of the center of the harness. Like I said, depending on where you jump, your wing loading can all make a major difference on how fast this stuff wears. Same thing down here as up here. Make sure there's nothing going on here. Always turn it over, look at the backside, check the same stuff. Chest strap, a lot of times where it's threaded, if you're through here, there might be something hiding in here, so you always look at both sides. Your handles, make sure they're where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be tacked or held in, that they're secure, so they do come out, they won't be floating on you. Here we've got more places where things move, so you want to be looking in between all of this stuff. Just looking for any kind of wear, any kind of abrasion. If you got a leg strap or a leg pad and there's a hole in it, you need to look in closer, make sure that it didn't go in and get to the harness. And as far as leg straps, you want to pull it out and make sure that you see all of it, not just look at it like this and go, okay, it looks good. Because there could be something hiding up in here that if you don't move it, you won't see it. And that's pretty much, and then overall appearance, like I said, just anything, if you go tumbling through the landing area or something, and you got some dirt, that's a good reason to look a little bit closer, because you may have done some damage, but because there's mud caked on there, you may not totally be able to see it. Then go to the back side, make sure your riser covers are secure. If you've got one that's always popping out on you, needs to be looked at a little closer. When you pop your flap, make sure that your reserve cable moves, because if you go to pull on that and it doesn't move, there could be something else. Make sure the pin is seated. Make sure your safety thread is there. On some models, rigs are all a little bit different, so you should know how your setup is as far as sky hooks, RSLs, but they're kind of rig specific. So whatever you've got, you should find out, understand how it works. Check the loop, make sure there's nothing getting fuzzy. If you see any threads on the closing loop, then it should be get verification that it's safe. Move on down to the main. It's the same thing with your main closing loop. And then if this, before you pack it, if this is open, you might run your finger over the pin, see if you got any little notches in the metal and any little dents that might need to be taken care of. Appearance is another one. If you got dirt, you want to look closer. If you got scuffs, you want to look closer. VOC pouch, make sure there's no holes, make sure that it's secure enough to hold everything in. If it's starting to get a little bit loose, you want to make sure that it's still safe. So check with a rigger or somebody that you really trust. And that's basically a gear check. And so unless you got something to add, anybody got any questions? I would recommend that since rigs are a little bit different is, talk to a rigger if you got specific questions and be safe. So, all right.
Okay. You guys ready to wrap this up? The only reason you guys came here was for the free food. Okay. The last topic is just talking about aircraft safety and procedures. So I'm going to keep it moving. How to approach an airplane. We're pretty spoiled here with the way that we have things configured. We walk out to the loading area. We've always got an air boss and a loader walking you out to the airplane. There's very little chance that you're going to get anywhere near the propeller here, but remember, you guys do visit drop zones where that's not so much the case. So you really need to be aware that you're always approaching an aircraft from behind, staying away from propellers. I really don't feel like I need to go into why. I just feel like you should know that. Seatbelt use, 1,500 feet here. Guys, seatbelts are technically required to be on every passenger before we even release the parking brake. Now, we all know what it's like, and on a busy Saturday, the last jumper gets on the plane, the airplane's rolling. I need you guys to get seated and get a seatbelt on as soon as you possibly can. That seatbelt remains on until 1,500 feet, and then it's very important that at that altitude, we remove that seatbelt. For obvious reasons, if there's an aircraft issue and we need to exit that airplane, we don't want to be fumbling for seatbelts. So if you see somebody sitting next to you that doesn't have a seatbelt removed, make sure you remind them. Weight and balance, I don't want to go too much into this, but obviously we understand that the effects of weight and balance on an airplane. If we put a bunch of heavies in the back, it makes the pilot's job a little bit more difficult. But really the area that I would like to talk to you guys is that if you guys are doing anything greater than a 4-way, that you let the pilot know. And you can do that. A lot of times the pilots are looking back and we can see it. If there's a 10-way getting on the airplane, we're going to keep extra speed on and just be ready for that, because it can get a little spicy in there if you guys aren't giving the pilot a heads up. Door etiquette. These doors are expensive. Please, they're just, the door that we just put on the Whale last year, the door and the seats, and to convert it to jump aircraft was like $35,000, right? So when you guys slam the door and then go, oops, come on, let's not slam the door, right? It's just plastic, it's Lexan, they're fragile, and it can take an aircraft offline for a period of time while these repairs are being done. So let's just please be careful with that. Cabin and cockpit communications. I don't want people yelling from the back of the plane to the pilot, right? And we also don't want the pilot yelling backwards to the person by the door. So let's just remain calm. Let's not freak everybody out. Remember that airplane probably has tandem students in there that are already, very nervous. And the last thing they need is somebody screaming at the top of their lungs, trying to communicate to the pilot. Let's use hand signals. Let's just calmly pass a message up to the front of the airplane. In the case of an emergency, the pilot's going to make that call. If we need people to exit the airplane, the pilot is going to make it very known that that's what needs to happen. Any questions on that? Spotting and cloud clearances. So every morning when we come to work, the pilots will always check the conditions, check uppers, and we're going to make our best guess on where we want to turn the green light on and what direction we're running jump run. We're gathering that information from a number of different sources, and then but I feel here at this drop zone, we do a really good job. I feel for the amount of money you guys are paying per jump, we should do our best to give you the best chances of landing here in the landing area, because we also know that the risk for injury dramatically increases when you are put in a situation to not land in the landing area, right? When you're forced to land in somebody's backyard or in the crops or somewhere tight, your chance for injury is greatly increased. And we take that responsibility very seriously. What does the green light actually mean? Of course, it's time to exit the airplane, but let's take a look, clear our skies, and make sure you guys are comfortable exiting the airplane. If you're not, please step out of the way and let the next group make their decision. If you look down and you see an airplane, obviously don't tell the next guy to exit, but if you're not comfortable for whatever reason, something with your gear or something, you know, your camera's not on or whatever, let the guys go in front of you, because this airplane's moving at 80, 90, 100 knots across the ground. We want to keep things moving, because the longer we wait, the more we're hosing the guy in the front of the plane that wants to make it back to this landing area. How and when do we ask for a go around? Obviously this one's go arounds cost us a lot of money, so we don't want to do a go around just because you didn't turn your GoPro on. You know, like that's not really a valid reason to spend a couple $100 in time and fuel. So, but if you truly do need to go around, there's an aircraft or there's a cloud there and we don't want to jump through clouds, then we ask for a go around. This is where I ask that you don't scream that. We're just going to give that nice, calm, we're going to hold and ask for a go around. Okay. Cloud clearance reviews, those are online and available. I don't even know them. We just try not to jump. We just try not to jump through them. Do you guys know the cloud clearances? Ryan probably does. Guys, there are consequences to jumping through clouds. It's happened where people have gotten busted, drop zones have gotten violated for dropping jumpers through clouds. Videos get posted online and the FSDO watches that video and comes out and issues a fine to the drop zone, right? They can see everything we do. And we all love those beautiful puffy clouds, but let's not get ourselves into under more scrutiny from the FAA. And you guys as civilians can get up to an $11,000 fine. I've never heard of anybody being fined for it, but I don't think you guys want to get hit with that. Emergencies, the chain of command. Really, you're taking commands from the pilot in command, right? So if the pilot tells you guys what's going on, I need it 900 feet for you guys to get out of the airplane, you can be assured it's a bad situation, but he needs you out, or she. You're welcome. And so the chain of command is pilot to you guys, unless there's students on board, at which the pilot is communicating to the instructor and the instructor is making a decision on what happens with the student. It could be a case where we're getting all the experienced jumpers out and we're keeping the tandems and students where they are, helmet comes on, strapped, and seatbelt. Seatbelts in the event of an emergency, helmets on, strapped, and seatbelts for landing, okay? Monitor flaps, pins, and pilot chutes. I mean, that goes for all stages of flight. That's not just during emergencies, but it's very important as we're boarding an airplane to be protecting your pins and your handles as you're climbing into the airplane. As you guys know, when we had the blue caravan last year, it was always a mission when we're jamming 17 people into an airplane that's probably designed for 12. So that won't be an issue this year, as we're not flying that airplane here this year. But people clapping. So I think that one goes without saying. There we go. Any questions on aircraft stuff, guys? Are you too hungry to ask any questions? All right, and then a couple things I did want to mention. We've made some small changes. All gear rental will be going through CSC now, not through Rock Sky Market. Probably it's a subtle difference for you guys, but just so you know, it'll be going through us. Still being rented through the Pro Shop, but we'll be ironing out some minor changes there in the process of renting gear. We mentioned this earlier, events, take a look at it. And if you have any questions or things that you guys would like to see added, please let us know. Facebook group, if you guys aren't on it, that's a great resource for everybody to stay in touch. Next Friday. What questions do you guys have for me? Anything? You guys ready for a beer? So, Jenny, beer. But I've been told that we all have to get together for a photo.
Yeah.
Was there anything else? Anything, guys? Any questions? There's no questions online. All right, cool. We'll work on, I'm sure you guys will want to watch this again. So we're going to post it and oh God. Jeez. All right. So we're going to get this posted and so you guys can share it. And then all the slides will be available as well. Next Saturday, I know Natalie told you, but hope you guys can join us. It's a fun event. And then just a reminder, guys, this is not a ground school, right? This is just a refresher for us all to kind of think about those things that nobody wants to think about this stuff. Nobody wants to talk about your risers coming apart, but it's important stuff that we need to review. So I think we have an amazing safety culture here, and it's really important that we continue that mindset. And if any of you guys have any questions, you got tons of resources, or just come to me and I'll either answer it or put you guys in touch with whoever we need to. Last thing is, if you don't have a waiver filled out for this year, you can hop on there and do that. Drinks. Oh, come on up for photos.
Yep.
Yeah, let's all just.
I think it's too many
John,
people. Can't do
what are
that.
you doing? This was hard enough already. Everybody online, thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys next week.